Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of whatever the fuck the name of this podcast is, because there's not one yet, but...
I thought it was nombre. Nombre.
My house is haunted. He's a ghost. Don't listen to him. Anyways, I have a guest here in the studio. She's going to be helping us out with with the podcast, supposedly, she said. She's lying. Anyways, her name is Evelyn. Hello, Evelyn.
Hi, Luis.
What up?
Not much.
Hey, we're going to talk in Spanish. ¿Qué pasó con ese pedo, pues? Bueno, mira, vamos a empezar. Es que le pushamos el zap button, como dice George López. ¿Cómo estás, Evelyn? ¿Todo bien?
Todo bien.
A ver, ¿de qué quieres hablar el día de hoy? Porque estabas tan ansiosa de venir a este programa tan suave y emocionante. Y ya sé que querías venir a presentar unas de tus historietas que cada rato me quieres contar.
¿Cuál de ellas?
Por favor, continúa. De cómo... I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
It's your show.
You my guest, though. No?
No.
No te creo. A ver, habla del COVID 2000. ¿Cómo se llama? COVID what? What is it?
19.
Oh, sí. I was going to say 1920. Talk to me about the COVID-19. What do you think about it? Is it real? Is it fake? Is it just like any other disease that was taken to a higher level by the media? What do you think it is?
Well, I don't think it's fake. I mean, there's people dying. How can you fake that?
There's always people dying, though. Whenever that guy Elon Musk said that all these people that were dying of like heart attacks or whatever, if they had any sign of corona, that's what they would put it as their death. So like a lot of deaths were like higher than what they were really supposed to be, supposedly.
But I mean, if that's the case, what's the end game?
To scare people into doing these things.
What?
No?
Wearing mouth covers? I don't...
Well, yeah, it's basically how much they could control the people.
Well,
No?
I think they know. I think they know. They already know how much they can control, what they can do,
Do
what
they
can't
do?
Yeah.
I don't know, though.
What I think is more possible, what they were saying is that they've been pushing the software through Microsoft, that they can track people through their phones, and if they come in contact with somebody that has a virus, they're able to track the movements of those people.
Oh, sure. That's an app, no?
Yeah. That they want to push to come through, and that app would be able to be used through the 5G towers that they're planning to install. I think a few cities here in the United States have them, not all of them do. But the plan is that eventually everybody would transfer into 5G worldwide. And I don't know if you've seen it, but China has already the 5G towers.
Mm-hmm.
And they have cameras installed all over in the streets.
Oh,
And
sure.
those cameras, they're 5G capable, meaning that they're able to capture like faces and images of the people and identify them. And they have it all stored into a database. So what I've heard is that they're planning to bring that here, but the push is through the COVID, like saying, oh, for a security measure, that way we can track a person that has the COVID, and that way we can keep track of the cases and where people are at, and that way they don't,
That's crazy,
give it
though.
to other people.
That's fucking crazy, though. What do you think about that, though? I mean...
I think it's a possibility because if you look at Bill Gates, he sold out to China.
How? What do you mean?
Well, yeah, those programs through Microsoft is through Bill Gates' company.
I still ain't. He's peeing. Hey, turn it off.
Oh.
This guy. Sorry, it's the ghost that I have. Anyways, Damn, that sounds scary though.
You didn't hear about that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I don't watch
I've been
TV that
hearing about
much.
that. And then, of course, the usual, what's on YouTube also, just not your regular TV, but what you call it? Yeah, they've been saying all these conspiracy theories. Of course, the 5G towers, that they cause cancer. And originally, it wasn't the coronavirus that was, like, causing people to, like, you know, flop over in the middle of the street. It was more the 5G towers causing these side effects of loss of breath and shit like that and cardiac arrest.
Shit.
You didn't see them?
I heard people say shit like that, but I didn't know there were actual people that were actually having that happen to.
Yeah, there's videos of like in the streets in China.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think one of the worst cases was Ecuador. When it got hit, there was people like just flopping over in the middle of the street.
Is this 5G in Ecuador?
No, that's why I'm saying it's all these conspiracy theories that are being pushed out there, and not all of them really are actual, you know, probable causes of what's happening. But I think a likely one is that they're trying to push those new apps and that new software to just pretty much keep a database of the population. That's even more scary. I think that's worse.
It's always been the end goal, no, of the government, to try to keep everyone in check somehow.
Yeah, we'll recall Snowden, how he called out.
What is that? What do you mean?
Edward Snowden?
How did he call out?
Well, he said that pretty much the U.S. government was spying on people, like, through their text phone, like their text messages and shit like that. That supposedly the phone companies were releasing all this information when that's not right. They're supposed to protect, you know, the consumer, the customers. They're not supposed to be releasing. Like
the whistleblowers?
Well, yeah. Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
So I think that's endgame pretty much. It could be.
That sounds... Because... everyone's saying there's conspiracies about 5G and everything, and that sounds a little bit more credible.
Yeah.
Than what they're saying, but I don't know, man. That's crazy. That's scary shit, though.
Well, I think it's very likely that we're headed that way.
Well, yeah, especially... Yeah, I agree. I don't know especially what, but yeah.
Well, because China's in constant competition with United States. So I think somehow China has infiltrated.
Oh,
you know, here
technology and shit,
and trying to push like companies like, you know, phone companies like Huawei and stuff like that are really big, that are pushing all these technology advancements with the phones and the apps that you're able to use. It's insane.
It's fucking nuts, dude. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, your niece, you're gonna have a new niece, and you already have another one. Like all these babies coming up, and knowing what type of world we're headed to. What do you think? Like, are you scared for like the youth?
No.
Why not?
Well, because I think human beings are able to adapt. It to us, because I guess to older people probably, because we grew up a certain way, that we have a sense of privacy. That not all of our information should be out there. These kids are used to it. I mean, if you see all these young YouTubers are used to putting their whole life out there, and it doesn't seem like a problem. These little kids with Facebook already. Facebook used to be something adults would do. I remember that. Fresh out of high school, and I didn't have a fucking Facebook until like I was in like my 20s and shit. Like, you have 13-year-olds that are putting all their shit out there.
Yeah, you didn't have MySpace?
Yeah, but I don't think it was a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
Like, well, to me, no.
Younger.
Like, it was mostly like texting. That was a big deal to me.
Nah, MySpace was a big deal for a while, huh? MySpace was huge for a while. It was like...
No, it was, but not for me. Like, I know a lot of people use it as a platform to engage with, you know, social media. It was a pretty big platform until Facebook took over.
Well, I liked MySpace better because you could personalize the websites a lot more and shit.
Yeah.
You could put all these pics and colors in the backgrounds, and it was cool.
Yeah.
You can't do that shit with Facebook. Fuck that shit. Nah, but I don't know, dude. That shit's crazy.
Well, I think the newer generations are able to adapt more to these type of situations, and they probably more willingly give up any sense of privacy just to get out there. Because, like, you see all these young, like, YouTubers and stuff like that putting out that they get money out of, you know, doing these videos and shit like that. And I think kids nowadays are more comfortable in putting themselves out there.
Damn.
Like, the newer generations, I think, like, us and probably further back, we're probably the ones that are not as, you know, comfortable with the changes that are going through.
Yeah, that's fucking crazy, dude. I don't know. That's just fucking thinking about it. Like, damn, my poor niece also, like, that was just born, you know. Damn. What kind of fucking world are they gonna go into, you know? What type of fucking mess did we leave behind? Not we, but the generation in general, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like fucking shit, like these fucking riots right now too, dude. Like, what the fuck? I mean, there's a lot of controversy on whether the fucking breaking into businesses is right and that's too much and shit. And it's just like, I don't know, man. I'm in between sometimes. Like, I hear both cases and I could see both sides, you know? Like, I could see how people are mad and they've never been heard, so you just have to, like, do what's necessary. But then again, yeah, it's other property, you know?
Well, it serves a purpose. It definitely brings a lot of attention to the issue, right? Because they're breaking shit, pretty much. But, I mean, in that extent, at the end, what can people that are actually serious about saying, okay, so what are you trying to say? It's an injustice. Okay, why are you breaking other people's shit?
To be heard, because I mean, there's been marches before where it's been peaceful and nothing changes, you know? It's kind of like saying, dude, we're really tired of this shit. Like, seriously. This ain't a joke no more, you know? This is getting fucking serious. It's getting scary. Like, we don't get comfortable in this country as a black person.
But,
I mean, I would be scared. I think.
But scary for who? Like, well, I understand that the main point is, like, Black Lives Matter, right? That's mostly black people, the ones that are targeted by police. But is that a reality? Or is it just
what do
that?
You mean?
Well, no. Because, like, okay, like, you know Candace Owens, right? Mm-hmm. That conservative, whatever, speaker for, the Republican Party, were her. Mm-hmm. She talks about numbers about how, you know, Caucasian people are the larger populace in the country.
Right.
And they are more likely to be killed by cops than are black people. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, black people are, you know, they're less in the country. Mm-hmm. But they're more likely to commit crimes. So since they have larger interactions with the police, that's why they have probably just as much or, you know, following behind white people and being murdered by cops. But they're definitely not at the top, because Caucasian people are actually, if they look at numbers, they show that white people are most likely to be killed by cops. So
but if you look at numbers, yeah, but if you look at ratios, it probably show that the ratio of the percentage of black people being killed is way higher than white people. If you know what I'm saying, or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like you said, right, there is more white people. So, of course, there's going to be more white occurrences like this, right? Because there's more, the probability is higher. Yeah, but the number of black people going through that is almost the same. You know what I mean? And there's
less of them.
Yeah, hell yeah. The percentage is really low.
Well, her point was that why is it that, you know, the black community is more likely to commit acts of crime than the white community? That's what she was bringing up. That there's
because of the systemic racism. I mean, it's like I told you once, right? When we were talking about that that class, social studies class I had with that lady. She was telling us that the more cops that they put in a community, the crime will automatically just go up. It goes hand in hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's that easy. If you want crime to go up, just send more cops to that area, and that's that. You'll get more crime automatically. And I mean, it's easy as that, and we all know they do that. I mean, you were talking about how they were send cops to certain areas and shit. No, weren't you telling me that?
Yeah, that it was shown that, well, this was mostly in New York, that cops in New York were, this was back in when everything exploded, the same thing. I can't remember who they killed, but out in Ferguson, the protest out in Ferguson. Well, pretty much cops in New York came out saying that, you know what, it's because we're pressured through our department to give out, tickets, because there are quotas that we are forced to meet. Because at the end of the day, these tickets are money for the city. So all of these tickets accumulated throughout the year, they're added to the budget of the city. Like, I mean, it's not even an added budget to the police department. The police department has no gain at the end of the day. So
who's the city? The mayor and the city council? Or
well, yeah, pretty much the ones that budget the city and the expenses and like the public transportation, everything that they manage, where the money is going to be distributed. Eventually, of course, the police department is going to gain some of that budget. They're going to have some of that. But technically, what police departments, not just in New York City, but across the United States, it's like an extension, an arm of the city to build, their fucking, what do you call it, their city budget. So more tickets equals a higher budget.
Damn.
So, I mean, what these cops were saying essentially is that they were actually asked to attack vulnerable people, which is usually the homeless, black people that are in poverty, possibly Hispanics, stuff like that, and usually bullshit tickets, jaywalking, shit like that, stupid stuff that would accrue tickets money, because eventually they have to pay for these, or they have to pay for fines, stuff like that.
And living being like a Mexican descent in the United States right now, do you feel scared?
No.
Do you think because you live in El Paso, or because it's not many Mexicans being killed?
Oh no, there's Mexicans being killed. I think after George Floyd, they've paid more attention to even Hispanics, but prior to that, I mean, there's been cases here and there. Yeah. But I just feel, because I've never had any type of encounter with a police officer, to be honest with you. At least not a negative one. So, I mean, no, I've never felt threatened. I mean, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but that's not a reality for me, I think. And just because it's not a reality for me, I don't think it doesn't exist. But yet again, I think it's best off that people actually see the numbers, see the stats, and really look into what's the bigger issue. Because I think that if cops are not forced to give out bullshit tickets and actually just focus on actual crimes, instead of wasting their time, busting somebody else's balls for fucking jaywalking, then, you can actually attack all of these, crime issues within your city.
Yeah.
Instead of just sending out more cops because we need to give out more tickets for fucking speeding, for having your windows tinted, for stupid shit, for a fucking brake light that's out. That's dumb. Philando Castile, it was that black guy that got killed in front of his wife and child. I think she was a 3-year-old child. And the guy had told the cop, I have a gun, and that he had a license too. And the cop, he was aware of it. And so Philando told him, I'm going to reach for my driver's license or my insurance. I don't know what. He was going to reach for his glove box. And I don't know if the cop got scared. He felt threatened all of a sudden. And he shot him right there, point blank.
Wasn't that for like a Mexican cop, though?
Yeah.
Damn.
He got off, though.
That's fucking crazy.
And a good majority of the cops that have killed black people that have made the media and which pretty much formed this Black Lives Matter, all of them have gotten off, actually. None of them have gotten jail time.
Let me ask you something. Since you live in El Paso, right? Would you be more scared of a cop or a white kid with a gun?
White kid with a gun.
Yeah, it's terrible, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, not to be racist, but the shit that is fucking scary, dude.
Yeah.
You know, motherfuckers come from Dallas to shoot Mexicans here.
Yeah.
Like, God damn, how much is your hatred, you know?
Well, I think I'm pretty sure that kid grew up hearing that shit at his house. Because I know a lot of people say, well, oh, Donald Trump and all the shit that he has caused. Well, yeah, I understand that sometimes somebody that's young is probably more gullible and, you know, they have access to all kinds of websites and they can get some crazy fucking ideas in their head. But at the end of the day, I don't think if he sees it at home, eventually I think that's going to lead to more.
Whatever happened with this fucking kid, man? Look, you should look it up. What the fuck ever happened to him? Did he get jail time? How much sentence did he get?
Well, they're still waiting. He's done some court dates, but he actually no. Well, right now the case is still pending. They're looking for death penalty.
Is he out on bail?
No, fuck no. He can get out on bail, bro.
Not?
No.
Why not?
What do you mean?
Because he's too crazy?
Well, I mean, at this point, like, imagine how can you get out on bail on that
didn't
shit?
that Charles Manson get out a lot of times on fucking out of jail?
Oh, well, there's a big story about Charles Manson that he was actually a CIA op.
Well, hell yeah, there's that
He
book.
was a project, and that fucker went in and out of jail as he pleased. So he definitely had somebody in there vouching for his ass.
I think that book is called Chaos.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We should read it. I should get it for my. Yeah, that's just crazy, dude. Like, and then that guy that came out on that podcast said that all these connections to JFK too, and he was like studying about Charles Manson. Did you hear about that?
No.
Nah. Yeah, there's this podcast that they were talking of the author of the Chaos, and then he's like, "Yeah, dude, when I was researching all this shit about Charles Manson and the MK Ultra and how they were fucking with people's minds through acid and shit, that all these fucking people that were also involved in the JFK murder and all that shit were all
linked."
Yeah, dude, it's fucking nuts, man. It's fucking scary.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah, and it's always like, God damn, like 50 years from now, what information are they gonna release from now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're barely releasing like about the fucking what they did with the fucking Tuskegee experiments or whatever they're called. Didn't they barely like fucking like give them some money like in the 90s or some shit?
What is that?
The Tuskegee? You never heard about that? It was
Probably,
I don't know if it was a hospital or some school or some shit, but they would have black people in there and supposedly they were going to treat them from, what was that disease they were going to treat them from, bro?
I mean, they gave him
Syphilis, yeah.
No, they weren't going to treat him for syphilis.
No, they gave, but they were, that's the excuse was they were going to treat them for it. But they were injecting them with this shit. That's the story, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Then somehow this one guy made it out, no?
I don't know. I don't know how. I just know that.
Fucked them up completely.
The what? What did you say?
They're being treated for syphilis.
But they were given syphilis. And all these nurses testified and doctors and shit. That, yeah, dude, they were doing that shit. So family members of most of those fools got some money. I don't know when, like in the 90s or 80s barely and shit. When that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, so the government does that shit, you know? Systemic racism and all that is just remnants of it, you know? It's remnants of the horrible shit that's been done. The darker you are, the more fucked up they treat you. I mean, I have fucking cousins and, uncles that are old, and when we moved to Post, they would tell us how they couldn't, like, go to a restaurant. They had to order through the bag. And to do takeout because they couldn't eat there. That was just white people, you know? And that's like my family members that had to go through that shit. And we're a product of these people, you know? Like people that are born. And what we don't understand is we're born with these traumas and they keep going through our genes and shit, you know? That's why we have to fucking... I don't know what we have to do. It's fucking nuts, dude. Everything is chaos. You're like, what the fuck do we do? Everything's so new. The internet's new. We don't know what type of implications it's gonna have on people, you know, on society, it's...
Well, I mean,
crazy.
definitely the internet did help. In a sense, as far as information. But also disinformation.
That's the thing. You don't know what to believe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know what to believe. Sometimes even those fucking flat earth videos make sense to me. I'm like, God damn, that kind of makes sense in a way, but not really, though. I don't know.
You believe in flat earth?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. You see it in the airplane, how it kind of curves, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I've taken an airplane. You see it. You see the little curvature. It's not huge, but the world is huge compared to us. We're like little microbes living on it. You know what I mean? The Earth isn't that big compared to other planets, but compared to us, it's huge. So it's hard for us to see that curvature at any size or at any height within the atmosphere, I would say.
So then, when you reach the edge of the Earth, do you fall out? Like
no,
into the
supposedly
abyss?
there's an ice cap around it, right? So you have, so what it is basically like the top of a dome, but just the top of it, right? Mm-hmm. And at the edge, there's like these big ice walls and shit, which when you do hit South Antarctica or whatever it's called, you do come up with like 100-foot wall or some shit. I don't know how high it is, but it's high. It's hard to get on top. And it's weird. Like, it looks like it keeps water in. You know what I mean? So a lot of people say that's the edge that's keeping all the ocean water in. And then the continents are in the middle. And then the planets travel like that on top. The moon and the sun and shit.
That's insane.
That's what they claim, but... I don't know, you know. I mean, I don't believe it really that much. I believe that the Earth is a globe, but I mean, you look at the telescopes to other planets and their globes. Why wouldn't the Earth be a globe? You know what I mean?
True.
So I don't know. What do you think about that? Stupid, huh? Or do you actually think there's a point to it? I mean, there's no really way of us knowing.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of possible ways you can see it.
I mean, you could measure it, supposedly. You know what I mean? The curvature and shit. I don't know how. Through, like, fucking light. They measure how long the light takes to reach somewhere and shit, so they could measure the curvature through that. I don't really know how it's done. But supposedly they could. But I don't know. You know, I mean, it's... We don't really know, dude. That's the thing.
We don't know shit.
Even if we go to school, how much of what they're telling us is true? You know? How much of what they're telling us is bias? How much of what they're telling us is fucking just opinions or... We don't know, dude. We don't know shit.
Well, they definitely don't teach history, right?
What do you...
well, I mean, starting...
The colonizer writes their version of it, you know, and everyone goes fucks themselves, even if it's totally not true. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's some incredible places out there of peoples that have built incredible cities, but yet we want to think that white people are better for some. I mean, I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying there's equally better people, you know? Equally as good, I mean. All around the world, and it's debilitating not learning about these ancient cultures that have been around because they're amazing, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what the colonizer does, right? Erase the history, try to establish ourselves in this position that we have basically said that it was our destiny, right? Like, what did white people say? Manifest destiny of coming to the West, moving the Indians out of their places and shit, moving them into new reservations.
Well, the cop out was bring Christianity to the New World and, educating the savages. Right. I guess that's how they saw it right in their head.
Well, I mean, that was the excuse for them to see it right. But they knew. I mean, come on. When you're murdering people, chopping babies' heads off, selling it to the dogs so your dogs could like meat and so you could sick them on these slaves. I mean, come on. You know it's bad. There's no level of ignorance to tell you that's not bad. That it's okay because you're bringing religion to these people. You still gotta be in the back of your conscience that, nah, this is fucking terrible. You know what I mean? Because there is books of people that lived at that time. And that's why those accounts of the horrible things that happened still exist, because these people knew it was bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was horrible what they were doing. They were chopping up parts. They would sell these. They would have Indian markets where they would have arms and legs and heads and shit for your dog. So your dog could like these types of meats. And you could sick them on these people faster and shit. It was horrible, dude. So, I mean, and that's part of in your DNA as well. Because it's not a long time ago. You know? That's like your great-great-grandfather and shit. If you really think about it. That's very recent times. So I don't know, dude. I don't know, but as a Mexican person, what do you think Mexicans should do to get out of this way of looking at each other that without acting a different race like white or European, that if you're proud of being Mexicano, that you are somehow ignorant, you're somehow a savage, or you're somehow just illiterate in a way. You think there's a way to turn that around and to keep our identity and our way of life somehow?
Well, yeah, but it all starts with the people. Like, you can't expect it to come from government to enlighten people to see themselves, and to reject the way that they have been fed to look themselves.
But how do you change that? What do you do? Like, what is it that...
Well, I mean, we have all these movements. I definitely think that Mexico is going in the right direction, because what I've seen, so far, there's a lot of people that have started embracing a lot of the indigenous culture. They be bringing a lot more. I don't know if it's more for tourism, because it attracts a lot of gringos and shit.
Well, in that
exotic places. But I mean, I think that's a step in bringing it out and then talking out on how there is still injustices against, indigenous groups in Mexico. Just ignoring it is not going to, it's not going to bring about a change.
That book that you never read, called Mexico Profundo, they talk about how the European population in Mexico, after the revolution, they wanted to establish themselves somehow. So they're the ones that actually started bringing up the indigenous culture and saying it's theirs, basically. You know what I mean? It started with the son of the kids of the Spanish people. Basically, they're the ones that, when the revolution was won, I mean, the indigenous people didn't get control of Mexico. It was still these white Europeans, the descendants of the Spanish people. And they were the ones that continued these racist ways of exploiting the indigenous community to establish themselves to the country. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
And to use it as a way to bring tourism. Yeah, because Mexico's rich in fucking like old cities and shit like that, ruins.
Resources,
and
yeah.
It's beautiful over there.
Petroleum.
Oh well, yeah. There's a lot of resources too. They just found a whole fucking bunch of resources not too far from here. Over there by like Sinaloa or some shit. Where is it? By Sonora, I mean.
Yeah.
Where they killed those white people.
Right.
Those, what were they, Mormons or whatever?
Menonitas?
Yeah, you know, it's somewhere around there, which is the weird part. That's what that Mexican guy was talking about. Remember? He's the guy you were talking to me about that came out on that Joe Rogan podcast from Mexico.
Oh, Calderon?
I remember he talked about that once, how that where these Menonitas were killed, not too far from there, they found this place full of resources. Or I don't know what type of resources exactly. I don't remember, but it's like rich and so like they're fighting for control for that one, or who's gonna like mine the fucking resources out. But then there's a lot of crime in that area because of that.
Well, corruption has a lot to do with it. It's that it's so unfortunate to see a country that is rich in resources that should be, amongst the powers of the world, but it's still a third world country. And it's definitely not because it's not rich in culture and because it's ignorant. It's because of the amount of corruption that there is. But it's done in a way that it's so in your face y descarado, but people have become so used to it that now it's like almost, it's laughable. It really is.
They desensitize the populace.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
But I think the media has a lot to do with how we think and how they make us view ourselves. And I don't think no one's talking about that. Like, whenever they talk about gun violence and why are these white people shooting Mexicans and why Mexicans don't think highly of themselves, no one speaks about the media. Maybe about the video games, but no one speaks about the type of shows we're watching every day, the type of novelas we're watching every day, the movies we're watching every day, the music we're listening to every day. What type of mentality they're installing in your brain, basically. Projecting. And it all works together, but no one's talking about that. Everyone's just talking about like gun rights and how much fucking you're supposed to protect with the gun laws and shit like that, and I think it has a lot to do with what we're seeing in the media, dude. It desensitizes us to fucking death and shit like that, even to our own death, right? Like when Mexicans get killed, man, fuck it, poor people. It's from Mexico. It's we're even racist to ourselves because we don't even care that much if our people die, And it's like, who the fuck, if it's not ourselves, who's gonna get us out this mess? You know what I mean? Like they always want to keep the people against each other ever since colonization, divide and conquer and shit. So you keep the people mad at each other. They're each other's throats all the time.
Right.
It's easier for us just to fucking be doing crazy shit to them, and then they're just here blaming each other. You know what I mean? And they're still doing that in different ways. In 1521, it was a one way, and now in 2020, it's a whole nother way. But because times change, and you have to be innovative with the ways you're colonizing people. You know what I mean?
Well, of course, you have to give them a certain amount of freedoms, making them think that they're free to choose. Exactly. And that they're not really being controlled, And
you give them freedom to do stupid shit, like go to the movies. Or back then, it was the Coliseum and shit like that, these fucking theaters. And it was just so that people wouldn't revolt. That's what's happening now. It's exactly the same shit, dude. There's nothing different. It's just different times, different tactics. I mean, like the UFC and shit, that's all like fucking gladiator shit, Well,
I'm not against sports and competition. That's definitely an art because the human body is able to do.
But these are gladiators still. I mean, these are people being violent towards each other for our entertainment, basically. I mean, they're hurting each other. I mean, yes, it is a sport, but they're the gladiators of our time. They serve the same purpose as before, which is to control the masses, right?
Sure.
You don't want to revolt because the new PlayStation is going to come out soon, or the new car you want's gonna come out soon, or the new movie you want to see is gonna come out soon. So you're like, fuck, you know, I know the system's fucked up, but I'm comfortable the way I am, you know? So that's how they fucking, I don't know.
So I don't want to revolt because I don't want to fuck shit up for myself.
Basically, you
Well,
know?
I thought about that, like, in the sense when, like, all these people were coming out and doing the protests, the Black Lives Matter, during this, you know, COVID-19 pandemic. And I was kind of thinking, you know, what the fuck are these people doing protesting this fucking COVID out there? So I guess that's a way in controlling people into not expressing, you know, the freedom of speech, you know, to speak out against injustices.
I suppose that after all this shit that the fucking COVID cases are going up. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, but that's not, you know what, that's not due to the protest. I mean, a lot of states were already lifting their restrictions prior to the protest. Like Texas was already, what, at 50%? By the time that the protests hit here? The 4 or 5 few protests in El Paso. So they said it would take at least 2 to 3 weeks to actually see how these protests affected the spread of COVID after. So, I mean, I don't know. We probably have to wait and see probably a month and see how these protests actually affect it. But I think it does. If COVID is real, because I know not a lot of people believe it is. You know, probably they're spiking the cases. You know, people are going in for, I don't know, for a fucking diabetic, you know, attack or something, and they're putting them in as COVID, because definitely there's money in that. I don't know if you heard that they get paid, I don't know, a lump sum amount of money for them to keep for how many COVID patients they accept, and not just that, even greater money for having these patients in ventilators.
Oh, shit.
So it's somehow, I mean, the hospitals are definitely banking.
But they're all alone. I remember when I went to the hospital, they were only occupying one floor. Everyone else, and then they were laying off people because there was no jobs. So like sometimes the nurses was doing the CNA jobs. They would come and make the beds because they would lay off the CNAs for the day. Yeah. Because there was nothing going on.
Well, that's what's going on. Well, I don't know how true it is. In Mexico, I don't know if you've seen the news. There's people that are going in for, you know, some type of procedure, and they're categorizing them as COVID patients. So I don't know if, since governments are giving hospitals certain amount of relief money for these patients, probably they're using it to the advantage and categorizing, you know, these patients that are going in for some other type of procedure, and they're just calling it COVID to get money out of it.
And I heard once they get put on ventilators, they get worse and they die usually.
Yeah, because there's really no fucking treatment for it. There's no A, B, C, or D for it. You just hook them on and hope they fucking make it the next day.
Well, like I told you though, that steroid that they gave me whenever I was in the hospital. Yeah. That supposedly that one's a good candidate for curing COVID. Dexamethasone. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but it was something. It's a steroid to bring down inflammation. Right. But supposedly that it's been shown to help people with COVID get better. So if I ever get that, please don't put me on a ventilator. Fuck that shit.
But it's so weird because, like, there's no real answer in how the fuck you even get it. Because there's, like, first, it's because it's been confusing, at least for me. The CDC goes out and says, you know, don't go out, wear a mask at all fucking times, wash your hands, da-da-da, probably basic things. But then, you know, they go out saying, well, you know what? The mask really doesn't fucking do anything.
Well, the N95 does. Well, but not the regular cloth one. I mean,
right, but not everybody has an access to it.
But if everyone wore one of those other ones, we would all protect each other from each other. Because those other masks protect you from me, right? If I'm wearing one and I cough, it's going to trap my shit. But if you're not wearing one, then I could easily get it through the sides and shit like that, you know?
Right, because it's in your skin, like there's particles or whatever.
So as long as everyone in the building wears it, then I could see a sense of security, But everyone has to wear it, not just you.
Well, that's the unfortunate part. That's a false sense. Like,
well, yeah.
I agree with wearing a mask. I know not everybody has an access to the N95 or whatever, but I mean, just fucking wear it. At least that way, if you cough, spit doesn't go flying out, and it's not easier for people to catch it. But there's people that don't believe that they should be having to wear masks just because it's not really the law or policy.
Right.
And unfortunately, there's stores that are telling customers, okay, well, I mean, our associates are going to wear them, but customers don't have to if they don't want to. How is that fair?
Annoying, though. Right.
Huh.
They're annoying wearing those masks. Then you're breathing like your own fucking breath in constantly,
Your own carbon monoxide.
Yeah, it's fucking kind of gross if you think about it. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but if you go to the store just to do what you need to do, you're not going to go, pleasure shopping. Just go get your shit, go get your groceries, your shampoo, whatever you need to get, and get out.
Yeah.
At this point, I mean, for a fact, I know that during this COVID-19, I know there's clothing stores that will not allow you to return any clothing items.
Oh, shit, for real?
Yes. Walmart's one of them because I tried. And they said no, and I told them, well, I mean, my receipt's going to expire. What if within 90 days my receipt expires? How do I get my money back? Well, we'll just wait and see. Hopefully we can get you some type of reimbursement, which is always, a store card or whatever, but they're not taking any clothing items back at the moment because it can be contaminated. If you wore it, if you sweat on it.
You were trying to take clothes back to Walmart ghetto?
It wasn't for me. It was for my sister. It was maternity clothes, and I didn't know if it was gonna fit her. She tried it on. It didn't fit right. I was trying to return it. Anyways, she's gotten fat. She fits in it, so it doesn't need to go back to Walmart. Go to Babies R Us.
That's where I'm going to buy my niece stuff.
Well, they closed the one nearest to my house, so I don't have a Babies R Us in my fucking neighborhood.
Do I have one in my neighborhood?
I don't know. You have to look that
Sure.
It's been a while since I've seen a Babies R Us.
There's a mall here, so maybe.
Possibly.
Who knows? There's fireworks every 4th of July, so that's good. You can see them clearly from here.
You're looking forward to that?
Well, something to do when it's happening, so not too bad. Well, thank you for being a part of the podcast. Hope we could do this again since you're going to be here helping us.
In a month?
No, all the time. Okay, well, anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. Thank you for inviting me.
You don't have a book? You're not a scientist? Nothing?
Nothing. I don't do shit.
Oh, damn. Sorry, people. Nah, just...
You're a jerk.
Where's the engineer? Oh, he's right there. All right, well, have a good one, people. Later. Put